What's up guys, my name is NIGG, welcome to my channel, and I'm about to be showing you before and after mix and master and how I got there, so stay tuned. So first guys, I'm going to show you the before and it's going to transition into the after, and then we'll get started plug-in by plug-in.
You say, but I said I'd remember you. It's not what you say. Shawty, I'm the one that needs saving. When we were young, clueless as is. When we were dumb, I said I'd remember you. Girl, you would run, but I can't stay mad at you.
Alright, so yeah, so that's the before and that's the after, so hopefully you guys liked it. I will always show you the final product before I show you any mixing. You always going to know what you're going to get with me. Alright, so the very first step is going to be my Autotune plugin. By the way, this mix in particular is from like June 28th of 2021, and it is currently June 1st of 2022. But I love this mix, and I think this mix is a great mix, but it also shows you, you know, back then I didn't have all the Autotune plugins, and on this one I'm using Autotune Artist. I still have Autotune Artist, but I don't use it ever anymore because I have Autotune Pro now. Anyways, so I'll go ahead and play it with the Autotune on, just so you guys can hear.
When we were young, clueless as it is. When we were dumb, I said I'd remember you. Girl, you would run, but I can't stay mad at you.
Alright, so Autotune is obviously going to be the first plugin that's going to be in your chain about 95% of the time, I'd say. And I'm not going to go into detail about too much of why that's the case, but you want that to go before all your plugins because you want that Autotune signal to go into your compressor, to go into your EQ, etc., etc. So next up, I have the NS1 by Waves, and this is just a noise gate. A lot of people don't like to use this because it kind of takes away from the vocal a tad bit, but honestly, for the amount of background noise that it removes, I honestly think it's worth it, especially when there's background noise in the back of like when you're talking, when you can't get it out, because obviously you could just cut through each little blob, but this thing is just an extra room layer and you can't even notice it. Alright, so I'll play it with it off first and then I'll turn it on.
When we were young, clueless as it is. When we were dumb, I said I'd remember you.
Alright, if you guys can hear it, that's kind of like a vacuum cleaner on the vocal, you know? Alright, so next up I have the Q10 by Waves. This is a 10-band equalizer. This is kind of like the bass format. This is what most EQs are going to kind of look like, some version of this on vocals. So I just cut the lows out and I dipped some of the mids, some of the bad frequencies, and what I did was, oh, that right there, that sucks, so I'm gonna bring it down. Alright, I'm gonna play it with the equalizer off and then with it on.
But I can't stay mad at you.
So that does like a really good cleanup, and also around the 8K area, I boosted some of the highs. I always do that even on my first EQ. A lot of people say you do subtract, then you add. Even though that's true for me as well, I still like to boost the highs when I'm subtracting. Alright, next up I have some saturation, and I'm using Saturn 2 by FabFilter. Now there's plenty of free plugins that you could use. One free good saturation plugin is going to be One Knob Saturator by Softtube. But anyways, I'm going to play it with it off and then I'll turn it on.
Young, clueless as it is. When we were dumb, I said I'd remember you. But you would run, but I can't stay mad at you.
It just kind of makes it a little bit more crisp and gives it some more tonality. The preset that I started off with is Magic BM, but Saturn 2 by FabFilter has, you don't even have to choose a preset, you can just throw it on there. Next up, I'm finally doing some compression, and I have this CLA76 by Waves, and I'm going to play it with it off first and then play it with it on.
When we were young, clueless as it is. When we were dumb, I said I'd remember you. Girl, you would run, but I can't stay mad at you.
Alright guys, as you can see where I have my input and output levels, that's just going to vary depending on how loud your vocals were recorded and whatever sounds good and it's not distorted. Obviously, as you can see, if you look on the meter, I am compressing this quite a bit. I don't follow rules. I follow what sounds good to my ears. You can literally be deceived by something. Trust me, I'm telling you. Somebody put something in your head, and they're putting you in a box when they do that. I'm telling you. The moral of the story is follow your ears, and what sounds good to you sounds good to you. Nobody's gonna listen to it and be like, "Oh my gosh, this sounds super compressed." I'm gonna know exactly what it is until they see it, and then they make the picture up in their mind. So the next plugin that we have, GW Tone Centric. Now I haven't used this plugin probably since this mix. Not to say that this is a bad plugin at all. It's a great plugin.
Infatuated, you were my personality. So I was stuck last night.
Oh yeah, that thing right there just makes the vocal go from thin to full. And that's why I like that plugin. That's why I use that plugin. So next up, this is a secret of mine. Sometimes I mix a song without this and I like the way it sounds and I'll be like, it's just missing this R-Comp plugin. Usually on my R-Comp, I have a big ratio, but on this one, I didn't go too heavy because I did it already in the CLA 76 plugin. So let's play it with it on and with it off.
We were young, clueless as it is. When we were dumb, I said I'd remember you, or you would rhyme, but I can't stay mad at you.
So that right there really glues the vocals together for me and it helps it stays in a straight line, if you know what I mean. Instead of being like sloppy handwriting, it makes it neat. So next up, I have multiband compression. I pretty much use this on all my vocals. And I have the Pensado startup. The Pensado presets are a great place to start whenever you're using the C4 plugin here. And so I'll play it with it on and I'll play it with it off. So I'm getting a lot of the character and the main theme or the main sound of the vocal from that C4 plugin. And next up, I just have the Deesser. This is a Fab Filter Deesser. It doesn't matter which Deesser you use, whichever one sounds good for you. So I'll play it with it on and with it off. $7,000 to $10,000 being chopped off. Yeah, that's usually going to be your problems. Really, $2,000 to $10,000. That's really the truth. And sometimes it could be higher than that. Next up, we have our parallel compression, and I'm using H-Comp. So I'm going to go ahead and play it with it on and with it off. What I do is, on my buses, I turn them all the way up at 0 here on the bottom, and then I control it down here. So even though it's turned all the way up on the bus, it's not at 100% seriously. So I'll play it with it off first, and then with it on.
As it is. When we were dumb, I said I'd remember you, girl, you.
So as you can see, that really makes a humongous difference right there. Parallel compression. That really brings the vocals up and it helps the vocals from sounding so thin and gives the vocals character, room to breathe, all that, etc., etc. All right, so next up, we're going to be using Manny M Reverb by Waves. I haven't used this reverb in a hot minute, but this is definitely one of my OG favorite reverbs, especially some of the ones that you can get from Waves. So I'm going to play it with it off first, and I'll play it with it on.
Girl, you would rhyme, but I can't stay mad at you. Oh, am I infatuated? You were my personality. 'Cause I was stuck last night.
All right, so we are getting somewhere finally. The reverb, whenever you put that reverb on, after cleaning up the vocal, bringing up the vocal, it just makes it sound like an actual song. And also, one thing that I like to do is to use modulation on reverbs and compression sometimes on reverbs. And it just makes the reverb sound more lush in my opinion, and the compression just puts it in the back a little bit so it's not so crowded. Alright, so next up I have another Fab Filter plugin. So I use a bunch of Fab Filter plugins on this particular mix here. Fucking that. Anyways, it's gonna be Fab Filter Micro, and I already know I have the vintage vocal preset. And I just have it turned all the way up here on my bus, controlling my levels down there. That's one of the helpful tips I learned from Help Me Devon. Shout out Help Me Devon. off first, then I'll play it with it on.
And I won't miss your kind, but I still fall for your eyes. It's not what you think, but I drink all because of you. It's not what you say, but I said I'd remember you. It's not what you say.
So that right there just, oh my gosh, I really forgot how much I really love the way this works on a bus. Wow. So next up, I'm having some delay on, and I'm just using H delay, and I still use H delay to this day. I love H delay. It's a great delay plugin. Usually I have it on ping pong, turn the analog off. I can't stand when people just make sure you're turning the analog off, guys, like they're just telling you like the biggest gym in the world. Everybody says that, and they think they're the first person to tell everybody, but you're not. You're not. All right, anyways, I'm going to play it with it off, and then I'm going to play it with it on.
Shawty, I'm the one that needs saving. When we were young, clueless as is. When we were dumb, I said.
And so when you have a short delay, it's going to add width, especially whenever you use ping pong. As you can see, whenever I push the space bar, that's really the only time you can really audibly hear the delay. But it's still going on, it's still there. Minor improvements that are adding to the bigger picture. All right, so next up, this is the very last bus, guys. PS22 spread. And so I just have it on mono, from mono to wide, because if you're recording, you should be recording in mono. And I don't have it turned all the way up down here. And I'll play it with it off and with it on.
I said I'd remember you, or you would rhyme, but I can't stay mad at you. Oh, am I infatuated? You were my.
Alrighty guys, so that is the entire vocal chain. And so if you guys want me to show you how to mix the background vocals, then go ahead and just flame this video up, leave a comment, leave a like, and please subscribe. But I'm going to play it all together once again so you guys can hear the final product fully mixed and mastered. If you want me to show you these over here, bus 8 and bus 11, it's going to be the background vocals and the ad-libs, then let me know.
I said I'd remember you. It's not what you say. Shawty, I'm the one that needs saving. When we were young, clueless as is. When we were dumb, I said I'd remember you, or you would rhyme, but I can't stay mad at you. Oh, am I infatuated?
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that mix, then I know that you'll enjoy the other content that I have up on my channel and the content that I will be uploading in the future. So again, this mix is from a year ago, literally June of last year, 2021, and it's currently 2022 at the time of this making of this video, June 1st to be exact. So guys, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram, and join my Discord. Yeah.